So we are going to get started today. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Let me see. Okay, amazing. So, hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to talk about strategic plans. Who, what, huh? So, nonprofit strategic planning can help your organization effectively meet challenges and take advantage of new opportunities. Um, Despite the many benefits, 49% of nonprofits actually don't have a strategic plan. However, organizations with a strategic plan continually express the advantages of this type of preparation. One study found that 86% of respondents believed their strategic plan positively impacted revenue generation through grants, donors, events, and other avenues. So whether you're starting a new nonprofit or crafting an emergency plan to react to unexpected external circumstances or creating your strategy for the next 5 years. I hope that this webinar teaches you some things about strategic plans. So again, welcome and thank you for attending today's technical assistance webinar. This webinar is presented by Amity Foundation, acting as the third-party administrator for LA County's Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department and the CFCI Care Grants. The CFCI, or Care First Community Investment, grants are the result of ballot measure J, voted in by LA County residents in 2020. The Care First Community Investment Funds are intended to be invested directly into communities and alternatives to incarceration that address negative outcomes caused by racially driven criminal legal system inequities and long-term economic disinvestment. So today's webinar is being recorded. You do not, however, have to be on camera. Understand that if you are on camera, your image may be captured in the recording, and staying on the webinar represents your consent to being recorded. At Amity, we incorporate teachings that center the community before we begin our work. Today, we will use the LA County Land Acknowledgement to recognize the price paid by individuals that has resulted in efforts such as Care First Community Investment. We recognize that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tonva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in the genocide of the First Peoples. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with diving into what a strategic plan is for nonprofits. So nonprofit strategic planning is the process of creating a blueprint to help guide your organization for a specific time period and to help accomplish mission-related goals. A strategic plan process involves reflecting on your mission to identify your 3 to 5 most important objectives for the next few years and determining the strategies you'll use to reach them. A good strategic plan ensures you have charted the necessary pathways to meet and hopefully exceed your organization's goals. So you may think, how often should you develop a standard nonprofit strategic plan? And ideally, your board and staff directors will meet every 3 to 5 years to realign goals and begin the strategic planning process. This plan is a living blueprint based on everyone's ideas. So common misconceptions about strategic planning is that when it comes to When it comes to strategic planning, nonprofits voice a few common hesitations throughout the process, such as should your nonprofit focus on saving or generating money versus not spending it, where yes, it may be true, you must spend money to make money. And during the strategic planning process, you should identify areas to spend money effectively in order to increase your fundraising return on investments. When you make strategic purchasing decisions, you can set up your organization to fundraise more productively than ever before. Another common misconception is that your nonprofit shouldn't take any risks. So your nonprofit shouldn't fear experimentation. Taking calculated risks fuels innovation and helps you reach your mission more effectively. And the last misconception I want to touch upon is that your board should take charge of fundraising. So we definitely recommend that you don't charge your board members with setting strategic directions. Your board should oversee your organization's strategy, not set the priorities themselves. So you may ask yourself, how do you begin, a strategic planning process? It can be very overwhelming to just kind of jump in. But you want to start off by just discussing measurable objectives for your team to reach and drafting the priorities for each of the objectives. So you may begin with a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This exercise can help you define goals and consider which strategic planning model will work best for your organization. So different circumstances and goals will require different types of nonprofit strategic plans. So choosing a strategic planning model based on your nonprofit's current circumstances, opportunities, your threats. So what every organization wants to carefully examine is the strategic model plan to decide on that will best suit your organization's needs. So there are several models that you can look into. The first one I want to go over is the standard strategic planning model. The standard strategic planning model, also known as the basic planning model, a vision-based model, it's very goals-based or conventional. It's the most common nonprofit strategic planning model. This one is best to use when your organization's external surroundings are generally calm. When you start using this model, the economy is more than likely more stable. Your community and the community and the city are, well established. Generally, this model follows, the steps where, you define your organization's mission and goals. You set specific short-term goals that you would like to reach in order to get closer to those larger goals. Create a clear path to reach short-term goals, including who is responsible for each goal's success. So we definitely recommend by writing actions down and creating a timeline to create each one. So for example, let's say your organization is an animal shelter. In the next year, your specific short-term goal is to increase the shelter's capacity by 50 animals and invest in the materials to do so. To do this, your organization will need to increase fundraising revenue by $10,000 by finding new outreach opportunities and strengthening relationships with existing supporters to increase that donor retention. You may ask one team member to post on social media every day to engage your online audience. You may assign another individual to call new donors and thank them and increase your donor retention. This model is really common because your organization may reside in, being more stable. Whereas that whereas where I may need to, switch to a different model. The next model we'll touch upon is the issues-based strategic planning model. An issues-based strategic planning model can be used when your organization's internal operations are in more turbulent conditions. For example, if you're undergoing frequent staff turnover, a change in leadership, or are understaffed, which oftentimes it happens within organizations, you may find that the issues-based strategic planning model is the best choice. This model helps organizations definitely get back on track if they have strayed from the path to success. To implement the strategic planning model, we recommend that you definitely, brainstorm the elements that are holding your organization back from success. So really just hunkering down and being very honest and transparent on what do we need to fix and how do we fix it now. Decide how to address each of those elements to get your organization back on track. Carefully monitor your progress and adjust your strategy accordingly. So consider the following scenario. Your nonprofit maybe has limited staff and struggles to increase fundraising revenue. You may decide to address this by working with an external fundraising consultant or directing your staff's attention to building relationships with your most engaged donors who are likely to increase their giving amounts. An issues-based nonprofit strategic planning model is a living plan. So instead of setting it in stone, you set check-in milestones and make adjustments based on your progress and your results. An organic nonprofit strategic planning model, it's often is nonlinear, and it's best when there are uncertain external factors that threaten your nonprofit situation. Using this model, your team members can come together to solidify their understanding of the organization's mission and goals. Each person then comes up with actionable next steps to help get closer to that goal by the next time that your group will meet. So again, it moves, in real time. Generally, putting this model into practice can look similar to, you and your team members going on a retreat together to really unify your understanding of the organization's big picture goals. Each team member examines their own strengths and decides on an actionable goal that they can achieve based on that strength by a certain date. Your team can then meet together either quarterly or annually or as frequently as you'd like, honestly, to discuss your progress toward each goal and the impact that you want to do based on the mission. So again, for instance, you may find that one of your team members is really good with face-to-face interactions and communications. They can be empathetic and understanding and would be a great individual to hold meetings with major donors to build relationships with them. They may have a goal to leverage the information in, your data in your database of donors in order to really foster those relationships and to grow major funding by 10% in the next year. This type of model never looks the same for two organizations because each individual within your team has different type of strengths. So this model is really designed to help every single nonprofit make the most of your unique strengths. The second to last model we'll talk about is the real-time nonprofit strategic planning model. This real-time nonprofit strategic planning model is useful when your nonprofit is in the midst of a crisis, like an economic recession. Maybe there's a catastrophe going on. This situation could be also very limited to your organization. You may be, a victim of a cyber attack, or your headquarters might have been severely damaged. This model relies on an extreme focus on short-term goals that aim to help you really weather the storm that your organization is currently in. Your nonprofit staff members might meet as frequently as every week to discuss your progress toward these short-term goals. The model can look like, you know, team meetings, honestly. Your organization frequently meets as a large group to define those short-term objectives for each individual team member. In these team meetings, you would discuss whether you've met the goals, your day-to-day progress. Are there any roadblocks your organization members may face? After the period where you've overcome any type of barriers that you're currently facing, your organization takes inventory of the progress made, or the issues that have been done. Thanks to your team members' hard work, you can create a new strategic plan using a different model after you've overcame your barriers. So definitely, this model you can assign several different team members to assess the extent of what you need done, and you can designate your team members based off of that. You can definitely outline steps you'll take, and in order to prevent any major issue from happening again. And then the final strategic planning model is really an alignment nonprofit strategic planning model. And this one is best when your organization has great individual departments or team members, but has trouble when it comes to communication between these departments. So oftentimes, your team members meet to learn about the issues each individual faces in their position. You can reestablish the common mission that everyone on your team is working towards. You can outline tweaks that your team can use to improve internal communication processes. For instance, let's say your organization has an incredible grant writer. They're an excellent executive director. They're super communicative. They are a major gift officer, and they're able to hold fundraisers. However, they may have trouble communicating with one another about the nonprofit's goals and what each of them is doing to reach those goals. So the result is the discord among the members and a lack of progress. In this case, consider ways to encourage your teamwork between the members. You may provide an overall fundraising goal for your fundraisers and major gift officer to work on together. Or you may set up check-in meetings for everyone to meet with the executive director and ensure that the director knows what's happening, and so that you can prioritize tasks accordingly. The nonprofit strategic planning model is a great way to set new communication standards and processes to incorporate moving forward as a team. So, a template for strategic plans. Before diving into the strategic planning process, you need to determine what type of plan you aim to create. Generally, strategic planning forms look really similar to the same, like they have the same layout. They always, include your mission statement, what your mission statement would dive into why your organization exists. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? How are you different from other organizations? You want to list your primary goals and specific objectives within those goals. So you want to identify priorities for the types of programs and services you'll offer to support your goals, target audience for your services, the target supporter audiences, advocacy and public policy aims, and branding of marketing objectives. You want to list who is responsible for each objective and what activities they will complete to work toward the objective. And here is where you can assign that team member a clear role in the process and outline the tasks they will complete that will support your overarching goals. So let's dive into that. So the 6 steps for strategic planning for nonprofits. You want to set fundraising targets. So of course, we're always looking and envisioning the end result you want to achieve, right? What will your nonprofit look like when you've achieved your goals? How will your ability to achieve your mission evolve over time? So for example, you can use your organization's budget to determine how much you need to raise to achieve your philanthropic goals, or how much staff you want to hire, or what type of events you want to do. Then you can outline those strategies that you'll use to acquire that funding. So for example, you may decide to raise 50% of funding from individual donors, contributions to your annual fund. You may say, 20% of funding from your planned giving, your endowment programs, if you have one. 20% can come from funding of corporate giving programs. You could say 10% are going to come from grants. Um, every org should have a different fundraising goal breakdown based on its current fundraising initiatives and donors giving capacities. So your organization should be aware of what that looks like. You have the numbers and the data to show you how much you have raised in any given year. Get input from key stakeholders. So again, ask the individuals within your organization for their input on your fundraising goals. You definitely want to be realistic. You want to provide context for your goals, for your objectives, explain how each will impact your mission, and ask for feedback on your strategic plan. The different stakeholders you should reach out to should definitely be your board members, your staff, if you have key corporate or community partners, involve them into this process. Running the plan by everyone will ensure that your goals are achievable and manageable, especially by your team. Your stakeholders will definitely raise a red flag if your fundraising amount is drastically different than a previous years, or if you're relying on strategies that have been ineffective in the past. Example, let's say that your nonprofit has a great track record with grant writing. You maybe won 80% of the grants that you've applied for, which that would be amazing, right? So you decide to dedicate a large portion of your fundraising revenue plan to be raised using grant money. It seems reasonable, right? You're getting 80% of the grants that you've applied for. However, your grant writer may bring up the point that you've only been that successful because you're incredibly picky about the type of grants that you're applying for. While the percentage looks impressive, there aren't enough grants out there to meet the goal that you've set. So this information will enable you to switch up your strategy so that you are as successful as possible. So determining your key fundraising and marketing strategies is vital, especially when you're considering a SWOT analysis of your past fundraising to better understand what areas you're already strong in and what could be improved. So some of the fundraising and marketing strategies your organization should take into consideration include major gift fundraising, donor-centric stewardships, new donor acquisitions and retentions, online fundraising, peer-to-peer fundraising, and monthly giving. Definitely assign areas that need improvements. This way you can try out different strategies to make so that the elements are stronger without so much pressure on one individual. Establish smart objectives. So when you set your fundraising goals, make sure that you are following that smart acronym. So the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-based. For example, let's say that you have a specific goal for increasing individual contributions to your annual fund. So so if we followed that SMART goal to target this objective, you would say that you want to acquire 500 new donors through your online fundraising page within the year. You want to call 100% of your new donors who give within 90% or 90 days of their gift. You maybe want to acquire 200 new donors through a 2-week peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. Maybe you want to expand your monthly giving program by 100 donors within a year. And let's say you want to retain 70% of donors from last year. So these goals include specific numbers and timeframes to help orient your strategic planning around quantifiable metrics. Choose tactics to support each objective. So use reporting tools in a donor management system and marketing platforms to help keep your team accountable for reaching their goals. So again, assigning each team member to an individual role that they're responsible for, it will definitely chart and make things clearer for everyone involved. And finally, measure your success. So track key metrics relevant to your goals in order to assess the strategy of your strategic plan. So remember that the SWOT analysis process as you evaluate your fundraising results, keep in mind that not every threat is entirely within your nonprofit's control. For example, a decrease in average gift size could be due to, just the economy in general. However, there are measures your organization can put into place to mitigate threats like that, such as diversifying your revenue sources or focusing more on donor stewardship. And let's see if there's any questions. There are not. Okay. So here are some nonprofit strategic planning examples. So this one that's on the slide is the Denver Foundation. This is actually a community nonprofit foundation committed to strengthening the Metro Denver area. Their 2021 to 2031 strategic framework was written to provide guidance for a decade. So it's a longer period than a typical strategic plan. This extended time frame definitely can mean that the document is intended to be living, just because it's so long. They're gonna use this as a flexible blueprint that will evolve as the community needs change. Their strategic plan is outlined in a user-friendly online booklet that clearly displays the organization's mission, vision, purpose, and values. It's very eye-catching. The colors definitely are useful. They have very similar colors to our PowerPoints. It also details their new policies, such as their new donor management approach, their proximity service areas, and the organization's business model. So this strategic plan definitely represents an example of a more far-reaching plan that will help the organization develop a long-term approach to reaching its mission. Whereas this one by the Girl Scouts, the Girl Scouts organization provides programming and leadership training for girls in communities across the country. And honestly, it really is worldwide. They outlined a strategic plan for 2023 to 2025. So they are in the midst of creating a new one. This organization featured 5 strategic priorities on their strategic plan webpage. Their summary helped interested readers get a quick overview of the organization's most important goals before diving into the full report. So they had these 6 priorities. In the complete plan, each priority includes information about specific initiatives to support each objective's goal and intended outcome. Um, for example, the first priority is strengthening access to the Girl Scouts organization across the area within LA County. The organization stated that they were going to pursue tactics such as investing in outreach to underrepresented communities, supporting troop leaders, and recruiting new leaders. So, how can donor management and fundraising software help support strategic planning? So, it definitely can help and offer plenty of support throughout your strategic planning process. Some ways that you can integrate this software is to streamline it within your planning. You want to always review your data analytics and reports to assess your nonprofit's current fundraising and donor engagement situation. Use this information to identify what's working and where improvement is needed. Set goals and assess progress made toward them. Using your software, you can establish those goals and assign team members to take charge of each task. You're able to improve your supporter outreach, strengthen that donor corporate partnerships throughout your strategic planning work by using the software to create communication segments and campaigns. You want to identify prospective major or recurring donors, and with a donor system, your organization can automatically identify highly engaged donors likely to upgrade their giving amount or frequency. Um, so just wrapping up, don't forget that, a strategic plan, you as an organization should highly think about creating one if you don't already do. Instead, use the information and resources to create. You can use your information and resources to create a comprehensive and valuable plan that you'll use to grow your organization. Strategic plans are formalized roadmaps that organizations create to outline their vision, goals, the actions needed to achieve them. They answer key questions about who the organization aims to accomplish, or what the organization aims to accomplish, how it will get there, and who will be involved. So again, a quick breakdown of what we just talked about. So who is involved? Does anyone want to come off mute and say who is involved? Anyone? No? Okay. So those involved are your leadership, your board members, your employees, any funders, clients, community members. They may influence the goals or benefits from those outcomes. Um, what is included in your strategic plan? Your mission statement, your vision statement, your goals, your objectives, your strategies, your action plans. So for many, strategic planning can seem complex, very overwhelming, but it really is essentially a way to focus resources effectively. It's meant to align team efforts. It's meant to measure success and adapt as needed. Um, there's also a very general template that you're able to use. You're able to start off with your mission statement. You then can roll into your vision, your core values, your goals, your strategies, your action plans. You can break that up into quarters, your metrics for success, your budget overview, and this may sound somewhat eerily familiar. Would anyone care to say what a strategic plan sounds familiar to that every single organization that has a CFCI grant has already done? Anyone? Let's start calling on names. Patricia.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, I'm here, but I was on mute because a call had come in. Sorry, so I was gonna answer if nobody else did.
Yeah, feel free to answer.
I think the milestones.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the milestones.
Yay.
So the milestones that you've all created every single year are essentially what would go into a strategic plan. So if your organization does not have a strategic plan already, if it has not thought about creating one, relook at your milestones, whether you're in year 3 and this is the first set of milestones you've done, or you're a year 1 grantee and you're about to do your your last year of the funding milestones. Look at what your milestones have been and what you've accomplished, and see if you could mold a strategic plan from that. And all right, so that is today's presentation. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate everyone who came on. As always, we definitely hope you are safe out there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your grant advocate or myself. Have a great and fabulous day, everyone. Bye.